Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Walking with Beau once again, which means only one thing, that we're walking. Very warm tonight. It's another day where it was hot, which it was. Been just about 90 degrees every day for a few days now. We had a thunderstorm. We get a threat of one pretty much every day, which usually what happens when it gets like this. So I walked last night. I did not upload that one. No particular reason. It's about 75 degrees right now. Humid, sticky. A little barky dog is out there. We'll see how well that dog's trained. I'll walk across the street. We'll see if that dog goes into the street to attack me. If he's trained well, he won't do that. How you doing? All right, so now that we've gone through the little dog trap, what's going on with the politics? Got some Republican National Conventions going on tonight again, day 3, which is a Wednesday night, July 17th. J.D. Vance is supposed to speak tonight as one of the big speakers. It was interesting to see Peter Navarro speak at it tonight. He was actually just released today. It's another one that was politically persecuted and prosecuted because he was in Trump's White House, and Congress did not care about executive privilege. They found him in violation of his subpoena. And Peter Navarro lost his fight on the executive privilege, which is too bad because he did have executive privilege, but he ended up with a crooked judge who ruled on things in a way to punish him. It was in DC also, and the jury he got was very biased, like we saw in New York with Trump. And you know, the Democrats just run around saying, well, he had a fair trial with a fair jury, judged by his peers. You just don't like the outcome. And I guess that's all you can really say about it, because you can't argue that. You have to prove that the judge made a mistake and was wrong. And you can't do that. They have a lot of power and authority. That's why the appellate court usually is much better, because they have pretty much final say in most of those matters. So anyway, there wasn't anything nefarious that he had to testify with. He just, he did like Steve Bannon did. He told them to go to hell. It was a sham January 6th committee trial in the Senate, Congress, I mean. And there you go. Guarantee you Trump's going to reward both of them. As well he should. So, the main stuff to talk about tonight is President of the United States, Joe Biden, diagnosed with COVID tonight. So he had to cancel an appearance he was going to make for the Hispanic conference. And he's losing pretty badly with Hispanics. And the other problem he's having is he has been told, or he told, I should say, he has stated that if a doctor comes to him, Biden that is, if a doctor comes to him and says that he's sick and there's something wrong with him, that he will drop out. He'll step aside if there's something wrong with him. Now, Biden said he was just fine a week ago, right? He said he wasn't going anywhere, I'm not leaving. And now he's saying if a doctor says that he has issues with his health, that he will bow out. So, folks, he's bowing out, okay? And told you it was up to Jill Biden. So I think she finally gets it. Most of the donors have pulled out. They just have. Most of the donors have pulled out. That's just a simple fact. So they don't have the money they need. Now, Adam Schiff, presumably on behalf of Pelosi, because Pelosi's one of the senior congresswomen. Adam Schiff is as well, even though he's a putz. He talked to Biden today and said that he should drop out. Chuck Schumer told Biden today that he should drop out. So they're all telling Biden to drop out. And now he's talking about if a doctor tells him there's something wrong with him, he'll bow out. So you can bet dollars to donuts. They're going to say he's diagnosed with Parkinson's, he's showing dementia. They're finally going to admit it. And the problem they have is they would like to have Biden stay there as president so Kamala Harris can campaign. Because here's the problem they have. Besides, they have Kamala Harris, who's a cackling demon, not quite as bad as Hillary's cackle. But she cackles more, and it's not nice to listen to. And she's also a pothead, self-professed. And so here's the thing, or as Biden would say, here's the deal. The campaign money that they do have, Kamala Harris has access to it. And they suspect that as soon as Biden steps out, the money gates are going to open. Not because they think Kamala Harris can win, but they finally got Biden out. Never mind the fact that Kamala Harris does not poll as good as Biden does. She doesn't poll well with black people. But if she's made the presidential candidate, she'll probably get, well, I don't know. She might get about the same amount of black vote that Biden was getting after he lost some black vote. Now here's the big key with this, okay? Biden has a lot of young men who still like him. Even though he's old, they look at him like a friendly grandpa kind of thing, right? Which is fine, okay? And I gotta put my flashlight on. So that's fine, right? You know? So here's the issue with that. The polling that they've done, and that's the internal polling that they were talking about today for the Democrats, is that they're going to lose those young people to Trump, mainly because of J.D. Vance, who is, by the way, has a relative, his mother, who was messed up on drugs, and J.D. Vance has been one of the champions for the opioid crisis, and Democrats have ignored it. He's going to appeal to a lot of these young people that have drug problems, and he's going to be able to talk to them and say, we want to help you. Vote for us and we will help you. And they will help him. Trump has kept every promise he's ever kept. The only ones he couldn't keep is because they sued him and stopped him or whatever. So these same young people who support Biden now, they're not going to support Biden because he'll drop out. They're not going to support Kamala. They don't like Kamala. Black people don't like Kamala. They're going to vote for her anyway because she's a woman. She's definitely going to get the woman vote. But at the same time, she never says or does anything that you can take seriously as being presidential. She speaks terribly. She's an idiot. And I don't throw that around loosely for candidates. You know, you can say what you want about Biden. He's not an idiot. He has been around DC for a long time. He knows how everything works. He's very, very smart. Problem is he's not sharp. He's old. He's broken down old Joe. That's what he is right now. And so they need to get Kamala going, and they will. They'll find something that, you know, whatever. But like I said, she's an idiot. She's a moron. She's a fucking bubblehead. She's an airhead. Excuse my French. I'm still all worked up. I'm sorry. I don't like to swear in my videos. Foul language is not good. So my apologies. So she's messed up, okay? She's a moron. And I don't say that loosely. I mean, she is. She's, you know, which at the same time, oddly enough, the only reason why she has a career is she's out of California. The media coddles them, you know, especially in interviews. And we saw that when Mike Pence had a debate with her. She was horrible. He ate her for breakfast. So it's going to be interesting to watch, for sure. J.D. Vance is very, very intelligent, very sharp. He speaks well. He knows the issues, most importantly. He knows what he's talking about. they're not going to be able to corner him on anything where he doesn't know how to answer. Kamala, that's different. She's arrogant. She thinks she knows everything, and she's not going to rehearse for a debate. She didn't the last time. So she's not going to get away with playing the race card. I did mention on a few walks back, and I'm sticking to that. I realized Trump picked J.D. Vance to appeal to younger voters and also to appeal to the blue wall, as they call it. People in that part of the country know J.D. Vance. Ohio, Michigan, battleground states. Even though right now, Ohio's really not a battleground state, it's pretty Republican. And the other reason why he was a good pick is you're not going to lose that seat because they should be able to fill it with another Republican pretty easily. So there's not much Democrat competition in Ohio. And a lot of these states that the Democrats used to own, they're losing. Virginia is one of them. So right now, as the polling is right now, 8 months to 10 months ago, we were talking about 5 or 6 battleground states. Now there's about 12. And the reason why there's 12 is Biden's numbers have slipped that badly. Now they're in play for Trump. So, and right now Biden's not winning Pennsylvania, his home state. Kamala actually polls better in Pennsylvania than Biden does, if you can believe that. So, broken down old Joe is done. Tut finito, folks. He's gone. That's a guarantee at this point. And I said it a couple weeks ago. The decision was made. They just don't know how to do it. That's what Bill O'Reilly said. He's always got good sources. He never BS's. And he said, I know people are going to say this, that, or the other, but he goes, I'm telling you, they've made the decision and he's coming out. They just don't know how to do it. Biden obviously could stay there if he wanted to. He's the president. You can't force him to leave. But they're going to explain the reality to him. The reality of it is, with Joe Biden on the ticket, right now, Republicans are going to gain about 20 seats in Congress. And they're going to do well in the Senate, too. And Trump's going to win the election. It's a trifecta. So that's the reality of it. Democrats are more worried about that than they are about Trump, even though they're worried about Trump, if you know what I mean. So I guess what I'm going to say is, don't get complacent. Don't think that this is over. It's just starting. People that think they're ahead usually end up not being ahead. And that's for anything. You know? It's called resting on your laurels. Shouldn't do that. Should stay hungry. Right now is the time to keep your foot on the gas. Democrat Party right now is falling apart, and the Republican Party is not. They're unifying. The most unified I've seen them in a very long time. And it's because of Trump. And now that Trump had that assassination attempt, talk about major league momentum. That's an iconic photograph that's going to live forever. Forever. It's It's going to be on every magazine cover coming up next month. Maybe for different reasons, because they hate them, but their photograph is historic. We witnessed, you know, you may as well have shot a photograph of Custer at the Last Stand, you know what I mean? Or the Alamo. They didn't have photography then. It's that important. This could be the moment, think about this, the moment in American folklore, 100 years from now, when you and I are long gone, they will talk about 2024, and they will talk about when America was reborn into the greatness it used to have, and how that was almost lost by a bullet, and how close it was. You think about that, it gives you goosebumps just thinking about it. And we were a part of that, we saw it. Where were you when President Trump's ear got shot? You know, you're gonna be 80, 90 years old telling these young people about it. It all goes away. Not really, but if we don't win, got to turn that into a W. Thankfully, Democrats are their own worst enemy, and all of their bullshit. Oh, there you go, I swore again, sorry. All of their bull spit, okay, is coming back on them now. Their little communist children they raised are coming home to roost. You know what I mean? They can't even control their own kids. They hate Biden. And make no mistake, Donald Trump wins, there's going to be rioting. And it's going to be ugly. It's going to be worse than 2020. 2016, I mean. Things are more heated now, and that was exemplified by this 21-year-old black man today who was going through an RNC checkpoint in Milwaukee. Hot day today, okay? Even in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He had a long sleeve beige shirt, black pants. He was wearing gloves, and he was wearing a ski mask. And he came up to I have no idea why people do that. Why they feel the need to say something when they drive by. It's always the 13, 14-year-old wise ass. So anyway, that's what's going on. Oh, see, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, this guy got arrested. He got charged with a misdemeanor. Out of all that, he got charged with a misdemeanor. And he had an AK-47 in his backpack. Pistol. Which is an AK, it's actually an R AK-47. But it just doesn't have a stock on it. That's all that means. So it was an AK-47, 7.62 by 39, and he had it in the backpack, and he was going to go through an RNC checkpoint, And from what I read, it sounded like he turned back and didn't go through it, or yeah, I think that's what happened. And while he was walking away, they said he was walking away from the RNC checkpoint. While he had his back to the security, they noticed his backpack that he had on. There was something very heavy in it. So when they noticed that, that triggered them to go talk to him. And sure enough, he had an AK-47 pistol. 21-year-old young black guy who had long hair, and he kind of looked like the far left, you know what I mean? So I'm sure he's being investigated and checked out, but he was charged with a misdemeanor possession of firearms. That's what it is in Wisconsin. And Wisconsin's a lot like Maine, except more left, but a lot of Wisconsin is a gun state. They have a lot of rural places, and they haven't banned the guns there for people. But anyway, the point is, I think something was going to happen today that was going to be very bad. We'll never know now unless they find some evidence. But they are on heightened alert for sure, given what happened Saturday. And we know how these things go. The media covered that shooter extensively and made him a star, okay? And so some guy down on his luck, depressed all the time, he's a nobody, thinks everybody hates him. That might be something that would appeal to him to try to make himself famous, you know? That's usually what happens. You know, we have one incident that happens, and then we see copycat ones. One's influenced by that. So we may see that. I hope we don't. But I think we almost did today. And I noticed the media didn't really cover it very much, because it makes the left look like the lunatics they are. And I think people are figuring that out now. We're getting a few raindrops. I'm feeling raindrops. Very warm and humid tonight, so I probably won't mind it, but you might end up with a drop or two on the camera. I'm just letting you know. So we're in crazy times, folks. Well, we're getting some rain. Doesn't look like it's very cloud covered. Unless that's something that just popped up out of thin air. So anyway, a lot of craziness, huh? A lot of crazy stuff. Now, a lot of people were speculating who they're going to put in there when Joe comes out. And make no mistake, Joe's coming out, okay? He is. I said he was going to step down. It's taking longer than I thought. But I knew he was coming out, and you know I knew because I said it. But I did say that he doesn't want to come out, so he'll come out when he has to, and he's going to try to stay there. He thought he redeemed himself after the debate, and it turns out that an hour, okay, literally an hour before the assassination attempt on Trump, Joe Biden was on the phone with Democrats from the Hispanic caucus and other Democrats. And they were trying to tell Joe about the problems he's having and what the public's noticing. And Joe Biden got defensive. He got very angry. He started yelling. And I guess the Democrat that was talking to him was one that never gets into arguments with anyone. He's somebody that's very well liked I think his last name is Crow, on the Democrats. Joe Biden led into him. And 2 or 3 other people on the call said Joe Biden sounded just like he did at the debate. He said it was like a repeat of the debate, and they heard all they needed to hear: Joe has to go. So that's what happened. So it's official. They know he has to go. They know he's incompetent. He's diagnosed with COVID, and you know what that's for? He doesn't have COVID, okay? I don't believe it. I think it's an excuse to get him diagnosed with dementia, and they're going to diagnose him with dementia, and then he's going to bow out, because just in his last interview with CBS and another time to a reporter, he said that if he's diagnosed, he'll come out. If they said he's sick, he said, with something. So they're obviously, they're getting rid of him. So they have finally convinced him that he should be at least looked at. Now, he has pride, and he doesn't want his staff to tell everybody that Joe is going for a cognitive test, because that's all everybody's going to be talking about. So what is the other thing that people can get randomly? Oh, COVID. Let's bring out the COVID again. So I think that's what they did, I'm being honest. And I think what we're going to hear is, while Biden was being checked for COVID by the doctor at that military hospital, they're going to notice he had tremors, and they decided to do a test, and they checked him for Parkinson's and stuff, and turns out he actually has dementia or early Alzheimer's or something like that. And that'll be it. He'll step out. Now here's the big deal with that. I've mentioned it many times on my walks. You cannot snub the first black female vice president in our history by passing her over as being a candidate. They can't do that, and everybody knows it, and that's really the problem they have. So
hey, I'm an illegal immigrant.
So that kid across the street just said he was an illegal immigrant. I didn't know if you caught that. I'm not even going to partake in that. So anyway, because he's just being funny, I'm sure he's not. He doesn't look like one, unless he's from some friggin' English-speaking country like Canada. So, what do you do with Kamala Harris? She's the only one that has access to the campaign money. They don't want Biden to come out. They really don't, but they know they have to, because they're not going to win, and they don't want Trump to be president, so it's forcing their hand. It's really that simple. And she has access to the cash. That's the way the FEC rules work with election campaigns. So they're in a pickle, folks. They're in a pickle. They're going to have to do something with their convention coming up. Democrats, Adam Schiff is one of them. He's trying to force the convention up sooner because he thinks he can get Joe Biden out that way. Because Adam Schiff is a really rotten, terrible person. Problem they have is they just had a primary and voters chose Joe Biden. You have to give off the appearance of being Democratic. You can't just usurp the voters. That's the other problem they have. Their voters are going to be very upset. A lot of them are in favor of removing Joe Biden, though. So how's that going to work with them? How? All very interesting things to think about. And legally, they have to have a convention, and they could turn it into an open convention if Joe Biden announces that he's stepping out now, because then there's no obligation to voters. See how that works? That's why they want Biden to step down. It has to be before the convention. So that's the way the rules is. They could do it after by committee, but then voters are going to be upset with that. They're going to be like, you know, we saw what happened at the debate. Why did you wait until after the convention and now my vote doesn't mean anything? So that doesn't work. They can do that, but they're not going to do that. So, and if they do, I'd be very surprised. It would be because they had to. Now, the other problem they have, they don't have a deep bench. You know, they got 4 men, maybe 4 women, and Kamala Harris has to be at the top of the ticket, okay? I don't think they're going to be able to get out of that. I just don't. You know, because as soon as Kamala Harris is the candidate, where Joe Biden is strong, those voters are going to go away in polling, but she'll get more women vote. But I think a lot of the women would vote for Biden anyway, so I think the polls we saw before all of this talk were true, that Kamala Harris polls very poorly compared to Biden. And they're pretty much screwed any way you look at it, to be honest with you. So, really, I think their best option was getting rid of Trump, which didn't work. And I'll talk about that for a second, but first I want to talk about Gavin Newsom. He doesn't have his people. And what I mean by his people is it's not a campaign year for him. He can't use Joe Biden's money. They would have to start from scratch at this short a time. It could be done. They have donors with deep pockets. But Gavin Newsom isn't going to run as a band-aid for Joe Biden, because he wants his own legacy. Plus, he's the governor of California, and he's not done ruining that yet. And he's got his eyes on 2028. I honestly, sincerely believe Gavin Newsom, even if it's offered to him, he's not going to take it. Strategically, it doesn't make sense, because if he runs against Trump and he loses, which he would, he's lost all credibility with voters, like Hillary did. That's why they tried to say that, you know, Russia cheated for Trump to try to keep her in the game for in the future. But, you know, you can't do that. That's it. So they're running out of options. So after I pass this person up here, we'll talk about different options we do have. There's a Democrat that we don't know, I don't really remember his name. Preachy, Breachy. He's somebody that's kind of popular in the Democratic Party. And he's possible. And then you have these other guys. You know, you get Pritzker out of Illinois. He's not going to win. They don't have anybody that's going to win. That's the problem. You know, their best option is Kamala. Let's just put it that way. And what are you going to do? Elizabeth Warren? You know? The only one they really have that I think would have any chance at all would be Michelle Obama. And she's already announced twice she's not interested. And if she decides to do this, that's all it's going to be told her. So you don't even want to do this job. You're only doing it because they didn't have anybody. And she's got no experience in politics either. She's not going to know what to say in interviews. She knows what to say as a first lady. She's going to try to play it up the middle, fair, and not really talk too much and be pleasant. A lot of being a first lady is just being pleasant without giving too much opinion. So she doesn't have very much experience with that. And Barack knows that. So you're not going to see Michelle Obama. Even though the Democrats would love that, because she is popular with a lot of their base. But would she be popular with the rest of the country? I don't know. I think when Obama came out of office, he was polling at 57%, pretty favorably. And that's because he was on his way out. During his presidency, he polled much lower than that. It's like, you know, and it's funny that way. You know? So anyway, they just don't have a deep bench. They just don't. Cory Booker, you know, I mean, really? They just don't have people. The other thing too is now Trump is going to have money. I think Trump's going to have more money than he's ever had. And that's the other thing too. The Democrats always outspend people 4-1, you know. They spent $1 billion on Hillary Clinton. Trump spent $360 million. You know, they always outspend. This time, Trump's going to get $250 million just from Elon, $250 million. Not to mention the 300+ million he's going to have. Now he doesn't have to spend it on all this legal stuff, which ate up $280 million. And some of that might end up hurting him because, you know, Biden was going to Wisconsin and Trump wasn't able to because of his legal stuff in New York. He wasn't able to go campaign like he wanted to. Wisconsin's an important state. So, Michigan too. Now here's the other person, Gretchen Whitmer, Michigan. She's an evil witch. She's like a Gavin, except she's a female. And she's a lot more politically savvy than Gavin is. Gavin just looks good and smiles a lot. Used car salesman with his sleeves rolled up. And Gavin would be easy to pick apart because he lies all the time. Because he gets away with everything in California. The media never questions him. And that hurts them. That hurt Kamala in 2020. That's why she looked terrible against Pence, because she was. She's used to being coddled by the media. Softball questions. And they do that with Gavin too. Whenever he's in public and he really gets the tough questions, he doesn't do well. If you watched any of his debate he had with DeSantis on Hannity, that's a prime example of it. Gavin just ends up shaking his head and, you know, all right, let's move on to the next one. So, they don't have much, folks. They have money and they have some charisma. Gavin Newsom has charisma. He's got a great smile, talks well, he's young, he's fit, he's healthy. You know, that ain't gonna cut it. Not nationally. And people voted for Joe Biden. They did not vote for Kamala. I'm convinced of that. I think everybody knows that. and they're stuck with her. You cannot lose your black base to Trump because you snubbed Kamala. And that's what would happen. A helicopter up there. Which means there's no thunderstorms. And that is a life flight helicopter, medical. So somebody's not having a good day. They're being flown somewhere where they can get the best treatment. Sometimes they fly to Boston, which is probably a short flight by helicopter over the ocean, which I told you about on my walk before. One of those crashed once. Friggin' guy burned himself up in a campfire with a can of gas because he was pouring gas on the fire. People just don't understand how quickly that happens. And it's one of those things that feels safe too, you know? Like it's charcoal lighter fluid or something. It's not, it's gasoline. It just instantly goes, whoosh. That's it. Once it happens, it's all over with. And goes right inside the can you're holding. And the can blows up. Or the person holding it panics and makes more of a problem by throwing burning gas all over himself. Anyway, the guy got burned up pretty bad. And he was in the helicopter, go to a burn center in Boston, get the best care. And the helicopter crashed in the ocean and they all died. So, terrible. Well, now I'm getting more raindrops. Dew point tonight, it's about 73, very humid. Humidity is about 98%. And so, now back to the shooting thing. Turns out the guy tried to go through a checkpoint gate to go into the shooting in Butler, Pennsylvania. And he had a rangefinder. And they didn't let him in. They had also seen him taking photographs, I believe they said. And also I found out that his dad had called the police before. NBC reported it that they called after the shooting, looking for their son. I read that they called before. So I got two different sources. One was CNN, one was NBC. So flip a coin and pick one. The media today is so horrible, can't even tell you. So regardless, I'm sure his dad felt terrible. It turns out that the rifle belonged to the kid's dad. I had thought, because I saw it on a reported story, that the father had bought the kid the rifle. And I think it was so they could push that story like we had in Michigan, where the parents got prosecuted for buying a firearm for the kid. So we have people in the media that don't understand what they're talking about with firearms. They don't know anything about them, as evidenced by the rangefinder. I saw one person reporting that he had a rangefinder and they couldn't understand how the person at the checkpoint wasn't alarmed by that with regard to they kind of look like binoculars, and I think he wanted to sneak that in as, you know, and I'm thinking, why is he sneaking that in? He doesn't have his gun on him, he doesn't have it, so that doesn't make sense either. So we need to find that out. Anyway, he didn't go in. Probably because, like I said, when you try to go into those, they will confiscate or force you to throw away. They'll say, if you come in, you have to throw that away. You have to get rid of that. Nobody wants to walk back to their car and stand in line again. You have to understand that you've been in line for a long time to get in, hours. Nobody wants to stand in line, okay? So they just throw what they have in a pile, and every Trump rally I've gone to, there's always been a pile of stuff there near the checkpoint where you go in. So anyways, the best ones was the indoor venues. Saw Trump indoors twice in that big arena in Manchester, New Hampshire. Great place to see a rally. They got proper facilities, restrooms. It's air conditioned, it's nice. Or heated in the wintertime. We went in February. Fortunately, it was a mild February day of about 36 degrees. Yes, we still froze, but we didn't end up frozen. And it was raining, spitting snowflakes. So it was 36 degrees, we're sitting in the rain to see Trump. And that was February of 2020. That was the rally where Trump had made a comment about COVID, where he was saying there's another media hoax. They're pushing something that's not as serious as it is, which is true. So Trump knew that. But once the pandemic was declared and you have Democrats in Congress, you know, he had to lock the country down, because that's what Dr. Fauci told them to do, and Birx, Blondie there. So anyway, the shooter had 3 magazines. He had over 100 rounds of ammunition. He stopped and bought 50 rounds of ammunition before going to the rally. So I think common sense would tell you that he decided he was going to do a lot more than what he was going to do. He also had improvised IED, improvised explosive device, in his car, and it turns out he had one at home. Now, we don't know if the one he had at home was something he was planning to do something with, or if that's one that he learned how to do it in the first place. And did he go anywhere to test one of them to see if what he learned worked? You have to remember, he's 20 years old. I don't think he's a friggin' demolitions expert, okay? But all that stuff is available online. And so they're going to investigate all that. So far, they keep it quiet about it. And that excuse they gave about being a slanted roof, they couldn't have a sniper on it for the sniper's safety. And on the other side of the rally, on each side of Trump, they had snipers on slanted roofs. So the head of the Secret Service looks terrible, and she needs to resign. And I'm pretty sure she's going to. She said she wasn't going to, but I think she's going to be forced to. Congress is going to start their investigation Monday, actually, 22nd. And he said they're sending out subpoenas because now they're getting stonewalled already. Everything was going great until Alexandro Mayorkas started interfering in that and told them not to cooperate. So automatically, something that's one of the biggest things that's ever happened to us, that should be an automatic bipartisan, everybody's going to get to the bottom of this, they're already trying to hide something. There's no reason to do that. So that is very suspicious. So I think the Republicans have caught on to something here, and they're going to make a big, huge deal out of it, like they should. There's really no reason to play any footsie games with people testifying, period. The American people are not going to stand for that at all. This is very serious. Very serious. So they need to come clean with everything. So from what I've garnered from the internet, straight from congressmen, okay, this is straight from Congress people, they want to talk to the officer that fell down who tried to go up on the roof. They want to talk to local law enforcement. They want to talk to the Secret Service. They want to talk to the director of the Secret Service, and I got a feeling she's not going to want to do it. And she's going to be a problem. So, and I want to give my younger brother credit. He noticed that when Trump went to the Republican National Committee, there were no females on Trump's detail now. After the hullabaloo on the internet about that female that didn't know what she was doing, because she said she didn't know what she was doing. It's pretty easy to say somebody didn't know what they were doing when they said it themselves, right? Where do I go? What do I do? What am I doing? Okay, well, she didn't know what she was doing. We've established that. So, she was overweight, didn't look very physically fit or physically agile. She couldn't holster her pistol. And she wasn't the main problem of the day, though. They actually did their job. That wasn't on them, the sniper, okay? So we can talk about that and criticize that, but the point is that my brother Jim pointed out to me that they didn't show up. They had an all-male Secret Service detail. So you have to remember that this White House is a DEI White House. They promoted it, they pushed it in the military, they have pushed it everywhere. They're not going to be willing to admit that mistakes were made by people that shouldn't have been doing that in the first place. And I don't mean those females on the detail. I'm talking about leaving that roof open. And Don Jr. was like, this is such a negligent, egregious screw-up that it was either extreme incompetence and people need to be fired and resign, or it was done on purpose. And that's really the only thing you can come to. They need to settle this with the public. Even if they did it intentionally, you should fire these people. Just to save face with the public. And if you don't, there's going to be a problem. You may actually see a couple of Democrats contact Mayorkas and say, look, we got to do this. We got an election this year and this doesn't help us. The public, you know, we're already losing the Senate and the House, it looks like. If we don't fix things, then this isn't going to help us. So you may very well see that policy change. And it only started after people were calling for the head of Secret Service to step down. That's why he's stonewalling. But what it looks like is they're covering up that they did it on purpose. And that's the point of when you have people that aren't elected, bureaucrats running things, that's the problem with that. So, and the other thing is they dropped the documents case against Trump, which is good. They're going to try to resurrect it and breathe new life into it. Jack Smith is appealing the decision. I don't think he's going to win on it. And by the time any decision like that is made, it's going to end up being a really bad day for them because they're running out of time. They're running out of time. So So anyway, crazy times we're in. Whew, freaking warm tonight. So we're gonna see what's going on with everything as more info comes out. I didn't get a lot of new info. I don't think anybody did today. The story's been about Joe Biden and the Republican convention. So there we have it. There it is. So the other thing I want to discuss real quick, I left a video on the channel today with an update. It's an update about YouTube and what YouTube is doing. YouTube is playing shenanigans with people's channels. With regard to promoting products, it mainly affects sponsored channels and monetized ones, but it affects the little guy too, because let's say I do a trigger job on a firearm and I want to mention what I used and what website you can go to get it at and how much it cost. Now I'm marketing some kind of product and I'll be penalized for it according to the new terms of service. And I haven't had any videos like that lately. Nothing's happened to me yet, but people like Hickok, all of their videos from the mid-June up until now got deleted. So I'm sure other ones did too. Now, Paul Harrell is not sponsored by anybody, so I think his videos will probably be okay. He has a Patreon. That's still allowed. That's okay. And things like that. So we got all kinds of stuff like that going on with YouTube, and we'll see what it does. But I guess the point I'm making is I set something up on Rumble, so I'm going to start getting my Rumble channel ready, and I'm going to start doing simultaneous uploads, I guess. I uploaded a couple of videos to Rumble today, and it actually didn't take very long. Kind of surprised by that, actually. So I'm going to investigate that with, I might upload this walk just to see how well it uploads, picture quality, how long it takes. There you have it. There it is. We'll see how well Rumble works for large uploads. They might have a limit YouTube used to do that. If you uploaded a 10-minute video, it was okay. You got the picture quality you wanted, the bit rate was good. But the longer videos, the first amount of time had a good picture quality, and then it cut the bit rate to save space, you know. YouTube has been very generous to me with gigabytes and space for free. I haven't had to really do much of anything. And I upload these hour and a half, 2-hour videos. So, and it's not an issue. So we'll see what happens with Rumble. But the Rumble one, if you're curious, you go to Rumble and you type in the search bar at Megatrends. Megatrends. That's Megatrends. Megatrends. So and of course, that's rumble.com. So just go to rumble.com just put after you go to rumble.com, just type in the search bar at Megatrends, Megatrends. No spaces, no nothing. Don't have to capitalize anything. And it will go there. So whew. There's the beautiful church. Whew. All right. We just hit 4 miles. We got 4 miles. Whew. So hopefully nothing happens with the channel, but I am going to kind of like do both channels at the same time now just to get some content on there and get things squared away. Looks pretty good. Then I'll get a feel about views. I might end up getting more views on Rumble because they don't have all that suppressive algorithms running, hiding people, because, you know, YouTube is completely geared around advertising, ad revenue, and they get the first priority on everything, monetized channels. you know, or if it's going to make Google money. You know, if you Google something in there like a, you know, pair of sneakers or something, you'll get stuff where, you know, their ad revenue is they'll benefit from it. So that doesn't necessarily help you find what you need. It's the same thing when you go to google.com and you search. Your search results is just stuff people are selling to you. I think I'll be all right. A couple, 3 years ago, it was not all that. It was okay. Things worked okay. But when I went there, everything loaded extremely quickly. Everything ran fast. So it was nice. It's made well. Everything works. So. All right, we got 10:12 at night. I don't think I'm going to get the temperature tonight. $73 degrees. 73 degrees. So we'll hang a left down this way. Whew. Haven't seen any deer down here lately. And this is sometimes where I see deer. So they go through behind that fence. And they go into the woods and then they cut over to Thorn Craig across the road through that lady's yard. So they definitely have a path through here. Now I do see them on the lady's yard or in the street up ahead sometimes, but they come back and forth through here by that picnic table. So all right, head back to the house. Head back to the house. Have some trail mix. Some fizz, some liquid sparkling water. Whew. So, when is Joe gonna go? When? I think it's gonna be soon. Yeah, that's the understanding I have from what I heard earlier. And, you know, I was listening to David Axelrod earlier. He's one of Obama's main guys when Obama was running. He honestly believes that Trump is not popular if he's not against Biden. If they get another candidate, Trump is going to lose. He honestly believes that. And I think he's just saying that to convince Joe. So I noticed they did that before with donors. They came out with a poll that had Kamala Harris beating Trump. And I think that was just a fake poll to show donors. We get Biden out, we'll run Kamala, and everything will be great. Because they got to get Joe out. So I think they play shenanigans with their own people like that. You know, we're talking about a lot of money. Because there was donors that withheld $90 million until Biden was out. The PAC money was going to be held until Biden was out. So that's how they're playing it. So that's why you know Biden's coming out. He just is. And some of the donors have already started spending money on Democrats running for Senate seats and congressional seats because they're not going to give it to Biden. It's wasted money. So it's very interesting. We'll see what happens. All right, up ahead here, we'll sign off. Hope you enjoyed the walk with me. It's kind of funny because I haven't watched the media in so long. I haven't had a need to, but now I'm trying to find out more information, and I'm looking for it on social media. And trust me, if you're on social media, stay away from groups, okay? These friggin' political groups, especially on Facebook, most of those guys are friggin' morons. They don't know what they're talking about. They like to be hot and first with the hottest conspiracy gossip. And 90% of the time it's wrong. And the 10% they're right, they missed something out of it they didn't tell you. So just ignore that. And if you want to verify that, go to one of those groups with something you do know something a lot about, whether it's firearms, cars, whatever it is, vinyl records, that's another one. You'll find out soon enough very quickly, there's a lot of people that are know-it-alls that know nothing. And the people that go out of their way to tell you they know everything are usually the ones that don't know anything. So that's the truth of that. So get your information from good sources on social media, independent media journalists. Take some time to comprise a list of favorites or something, and notifications. When something happens, you'll see a notification. And but yeah, those groups are not helpful. So anyways, you can get the info, and I've been watching the regular media on TV more lately because they do have a really good knack of having their sources. Even though a lot of what they have is propaganda, I recognize what the propaganda is now, so I'm not really paying attention to what they're saying with regard to going along with them and believing what they're saying. There's a lot of times you'll get the information you want from their reporting, and you can see through their BS. And, oh yeah, I know why they're saying that, because this is what's going on. Yep, that is true. They're hiding it. And that'll corroborate some of the independent information you got. You see what I mean? So, you know, it takes longer for you to sort things out, and you have to do more work. It'd be nice if the media would just do their job, but they don't. So, you know, and I don't always have everything right. So that's why I always say, don't trust me as a news source. I'm not a news source. I just like to yap. I want to walk, I'm hot and sweaty, I'm gonna yap. So, across the road over here, I am drenched in sweat, big time. So anyway, I do have a new video on the channel explaining that about YouTube and how it may or may not affect my channel. We'll see. But I'm gonna wait and see what happens on other channels, see how they make out, and we'll try that out. So anyway, coming up on 5 miles here in a minute. Almost at 5 miles, 4.9. Whew. All right, well, I've enjoyed this walk. I always enjoy talking, and if you get any information, come back and leave it as a comment. And about anything at all really has to do with the political environment going on right now. I'm gonna take a shower, catch up on the Republican National Committee convention tonight in the RNCC, and watched J.D. Vance's speech he gave tonight and what else happened. I was watching it before I left, but I had to get my walk in and I didn't want to come back home friggin' midnight or anything. So that's what I did. And thank you for watching the channel. Click like and subscribe. Share the content. And we will definitely see you for the next walk, which is probably going to be tomorrow. And we've had great weather. I've been taking advantage of it. I did have a couple days in a row I didn't walk because of that assassination attempt. And then we also went shooting, and I didn't sleep well the night before because of the assassination attempt. And now I'm back on track. And thank you very much for walking with me, walking with Beau. And the channel, I'm trying to figure out how to do that on Rumble. Because right now I type in two different things and it goes to two different channels, but it has the same content. So I don't know what's up with that. I got to figure out what that is with Rumble. It's like a ghost of itself. I did something wrong, but we'll figure it out. So anyway, thanks a lot for walking with me, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.